So I'm recording right now, just so you guys know. I re-record every semester just because I want it to be updated all the time instead of doing a really old one. Okay, so this is lesson 1.6. I think it's going to probably go pretty fast. If you notice, it's not super long. And we're going to solve absolute value inequalities. Okay, so absolute value, I really need you to know the definition of absolute value. So it is the distance from 0 on the number line. Okay, so I know that every single one of you can answer this question. The absolute value of x is 3. So that means x equals, tell me, you guys shout that out. What is it? 3. Or, talk to me, -3. The absolute value of 3 is 3. The absolute value of -3 is a 3. Okay, that's easy. We know that. Okay, so put a 0 right in the center. And then to the right, I want you to put a 3. And to the left, I want you to put a -3. Okay, so you really need to understand what the equation is saying, that absolute value of x equals 3. It's saying where on the number line is there a number exactly 3 units away from 0? Okay, so if you look right here, the 3 is exactly 3 units away. The -3 is also exactly 3 units away. So put a dot on the 3, put a dot on the -3, and that's how you do it. Okay, very simple. Okay, so for these questions right here, I'm going to give you steps. Okay, step number 1 is to get the absolute value alone. That's always going to be your first step. Okay, step number 2 is to split it. Step number 3 is to solve it. Okay, so it's really quite simple. So if you look at question 1a, the absolute value is already alone. So step 1 is done. So now, don't do this to your paper, but let me do it to mine. So if I scribble that out, what numbers could I put inside of there to make the statement true? What number could go in there? Tell me. 4 or -4, right? So whatever's inside of that could be 4. So I'm going to go x minus 3 equals 4, or the x minus 3 could be a -4. Could be 4, could be -4. That's splitting it. Then you just move the 3 over and you get x equals 7. Move your 3 over, you get x equals -1. There's your answer. That's all you have to do. Okay, question B. Step number 1 is to get the absolute value alone, and it's not alone because of that +2. So move your 2 to the other side, and you have the absolute value of 2x minus 3 is equal to 5. Some people skip that step, okay? I want you to draw an arrow to that, and I want you to say, don't skip. Do not skip writing that line. It's not going to hurt your fingers. It's not going to take up too much of your life. And if you don't write it down, I think you're on your way to getting it wrong, okay? So write it down alone, just like that. Now split it. So it's just 2x minus 3 equals 5, or 2x minus 3 equals -5. Move your 3 over, you get 2x equals 8, divide by 2, and you get x equals 4. And I want you to write those ors down, okay? The 3 comes over, 2x equals -2, divide by 2, x equals -1, and you're done. Okay, who says this is easy? Raise your hand and give me some feedback, how we're feeling. Okay, good. Question C, get the absolute value alone. Done. Split it into 2. You guys, that would mean x squared minus 25 is 0, and x squared minus 25 is -0. That's silly. We know there's no such thing as -0, right? So you're actually only just going to have 1. So it's x squared minus 25 equals 0. There are 2 ways to solve this. I don't feel like one way is better than the other. You could factor it to x plus 5 times x minus 5. I always just pull my 25 over. I think it's easier. So I'm going to go x squared equals 25. Then I square root it, and I get x equals plus or minus 5. The square root of 25 is a 5. But if you take the square root, bless you, you've got to put the plus or minus in front. Okay? Okay, that was question C. Here's question D. Yes, honey?
Would it be wrong if you
It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. So it's x equals 5, comma, negative 5 is fine, and this is fine as well. So Miranda, I'm glad you asked that, because Weber State has turned so picky with the grading, especially in 1050. Things as small as this, I'm not joking or exaggerating. There was a 4-point question on the midterm, and if the person didn't have a comma, they lost 4 points for a comma. I'm not exaggerating. It just happened last semester. So I love your question because you're being very precise, and I think that's absolutely what we need to do. Be very careful and very precise. So good. Okay, question D. Get the absolute value alone. Done. Split it in 2. So I'm going to show you some of the mistakes people make. Look, write this down. 2x plus 1 over 3x plus 4 equals 1. And then I want you to make sure you put the word or, and then people will do this. 2x minus 1 over 3x minus 4. So the sign they change will be some of the signs that are on the inside. That's false. So the inside stays exactly the way it is. It's the 1 that changes. And remember, this is why, what could go in there? 1 or negative 1. So I put a 1, and then I put a negative 1. Okay? You guys, hopefully you know this. If not, then you need to get there. You should look at this equation right here on the left and immediately know the easiest way to solve this. Does anybody know, like, what would you do? Okay, and that's a way to think about it. What I prefer to think about, your result's going to be the same. Was anyone thinking of something different? I was. Cross multiply. So put a 1 underneath. Across from the 3x plus 4 is a 1. 3x plus 4 times 1 is 3x plus 4. Across from the 2x plus 1 is a 1. 1 times 2x plus 1 is 2x plus 1. Okay? So all I did is cross multiply. Then I'm going to get my x's together. So this 2x comes over and becomes a negative. So I have x plus 4 equals 1. Then I move my 4 over and it becomes a negative, and I get x equals negative 3. Okay? These are ors. Weber State has been super picky with me on the or and the and business, so let's keep writing that or down, okay? Cross multiply. The 3x plus 4 is multiplied by a negative 1, so that's a negative 3x minus 4. Cross multiply the other way, and you get 2x plus 1. This 2x comes over and becomes a negative, so I have a negative 5x minus 4 equals 1. The 4 comes over and becomes a positive. Negative 5x equals 5. Divide by a negative 2, x equals negative 1. So the answer is x equals negative 3 or negative 1. You could also do this, x equals negative 3 or negative 1, something like that. Okay? Who says I'm totally fine? Raise your hand, let me see up high. Okay, great. All right. These problems right here used to be, here's the story of this. My students used to be horrible at this. You guys know that I've been teaching for longer than you've been alive. This is like my 28th year teaching, something crazy like that. My students used to be horrible. So last semester, I changed how I taught this. And it was so much better. Like, I was thrilled. But then people forgot. And then it still kind of ended up being bad. So one of my goals is to give you more review so you don't forget. So anyway, absolute value of x is less than 3. Okay, here's what we're going to do. This is step 1. These are reversed. So this is step 1 and this is step 2. So switch those around. Okay, so the first thing I want you to do is to isolate the absolute value. It's done. Step number 2, draw an arrow right there to step number 2 and say don't skip that step. People skip steps, and that's why they mess up. Okay, so I want you to make the absolute or the inequality an equal sign. So everybody write the absolute value of x equals 3. Okay, now we're back to what we did last time. So you split it in 2. So x equals 3 or x equals negative 3. Now go to your number line, put a negative 3 right here, put a positive 3 right there. Do you see how it's a less than right there, guys? If it's a less than or a greater than, if there's no equal sign with it, then your circle's going to be opened. If it's a less than equal to or greater than equal to, your circle's going to be closed. So I have no equal signs, so my circles are going to be closed. Some people got to a point where they weren't putting any circles on there. You got to decide, okay? Then this part's easy, okay? Do you see how that's a less than right there? If it's a less than or a less than equal to, you're going to shade the inside of that thing, okay? If it's a greater than or a greater than equal to, you're going to shade the outside, okay? Now, I'm going to tell you how you figure that out. Look, where on the number line, this is important to listen, this is where people mess up. Where on the number line is the distance from 0 less than 3, smaller than 3. So they want numbers that are close to 0. So you tell me, is that the inside region right here, close to 0, less than 3 units away, or would it be the 2 outside regions? You tell me, in or out? In is correct, yes. So that's what you're supposed to shade, the yellow. Sorry, my eraser's not working. There we go. Anyway, there we go. That's your answer, okay? They're going to ask you to write it in interval form. So in interval form, that's the parenthesis bracket stuff, okay? In interval form, it's going to be -3 to +3, both with parentheses, okay? That's it. Paige, can you tell me what time the bell rings today, honey? Is it 8:45? Today's, what's today, Wednesday? 8:24? 8:40. We got tons of time. I want to try to be done in 20 minutes so I can still feed you guys. Okay, over here. Step number 1, get it along. Done. Step number 2, turn it into an equal sign. Done. Don't skip that step. Step number 3, split it. X equals 3 or x equals -3. The next step, go to your line, your number line, -3, +3. There's no equal sign, so they're going to be open. You guys, if you know what absolute value means, the shading is easy. Look, this right here is saying where on the number line is the distance from 0 more than 3 units. Well, would that be in here really close to the 0? That's less than 3. So it would be the outside regions, which would be here and here. Okay, who says I understand that? Raise your hand up high. Great. Okay, so your answer in interval form would be -∞ to -3 with a parenthesis. Now, you have to put a U. Did we do U's in 1010? I don't think we did. The definition of U is an OR. Okay, I'm telling you right now, on the midterm last year for 1050, they did the whole thing right. They left off a U and they lost half the points. So we have to be so meticulous, so careful to detail. So make sure you put the U, it means OR, and then do a 3 to infinity. That's your answer in interval form, and you're done. Okay? All right, question 2. Step number 1, get the absolute value alone. Done. Step number 2, make the inequality an equal sign. So it's the absolute value of 2x minus 5 equals 3. The next step, split it. So it's just going to be 2x minus 5 equals 3, or 2x minus 5 equals -3. On the left, move your 5 over, 2x equals 8, divide by 2, x equals 4. Right hand side, 2x equals 2, 5 comes over and becomes a positive, divide, x equals 1. Okay, go to your number line. 1 on the left, 4 on the right. This time, you guys, I have an equal sign with my original inequality. So my circles are going to be closed. And this is a greater than. So you tell me, do I shade in or do I shade out? Greater than means far away. Tell me. Out is correct. Good. Like that. Okay? So in interval form, it's -∞ to +1, closed with a, can you tell me what it's closed with? Why is it a bracket? Because it includes it. If it's a closed circle, it includes it, and that is a bracket. Please don't forget your U, and then do a bracket 4 to infinity with a parenthesis, and you're done. Okay, question B. Step 1, get the absolute value alone. Okay, sorry, 2 seconds. Jackson, go ahead, buddy. What does it say? Set? Yeah, let's do set. Thank you. Okay, that's interval. This is inequality. Let's write the whole word out. Inequality. Inequality is the less than greater than business. Okay, so you would say x is, do you see how it's left of 1? So you point your arrow to the left and you put a 1. And it's a closed circle, so it's an equal sign. X is less than or equal to 1. And then you're going to put in or, okay? And then we're going to go an X and a 4, and it's pointed this way with an equal sign. Okay? Now, I don't want you to put or. I want you to put a comma. This is what they got so crazy picky about last time. Okay? So, in set notation, here's what you do. Set notation is not scary. Let's write this down. Set notation, make that symbol, then you go X such that. Then inside of there, you put inequality form, or if you have X cannot be equal to something, you can put it in, and then you close it off. So that tells you the definition of set, how to set up set. So the set notation for this particular problem is X such that, then you just put those in. So it's X is less than or equal to 1, comma, X is greater than or equal to 4, close it off. That's the comma. Miranda, remember when I told you my students lost 4 points for no comma? That was the comma. I know. But you're going to be fine. You will be fine. You know why you're going to be fine? Because I know what they're going to expect, and I'm going to expect the same thing out of you. And we're just going to take baby steps, so you're going to be fine. Yes, sir?
So if I asked for set or inequality, we read it, but you highlighted it, that's how we answered.
Yeah, so that would be set. This would be the answer to inequality. That would be the answer to interval. Okay? So I'm telling you right now, Jackson, 95% of the time, it's interval, which is nice because interval's easy. Okay? They're all easy. Okay, here's the next one. Get it alone. So the first thing you have to do is move your 5 over. So go 2 times the absolute value of x minus 7 is less than 13 minus 5 is 8. It's not alone yet, so divide by 2. So I have the absolute value of x minus 7 is less than 4. Okay, step number 1 is done, it's alone. Step number 2, people skip it. And because they skip it, it makes problems for them. Please don't skip it. So I want you to write the absolute value of x minus 7 equals 4. Then write x minus 7 equals 4, or x minus 7 equals negative 4. Move the 7 over, you get x equals 11, or move the 7 over, x equals 3. Okay, go to your number line. Put a 3 on the left, and 11 on the right. My circles will be open because there's no equal sign. Now everybody listen for a second. The place that you look at the inequality to figure out to shade in or out is right here. This is super important. It's where the absolute value is alone. That's the inequality you look at, okay? It's a less than. So you tell me, guys, in or out. What do I do? In, okay? So it's right there. So if they asked you to put it in interval form, it would be 3 to 11, both with parentheses. If they asked you to put it in set notation, which is also, by the way, called set builder notation, it's the same thing. You go x such that. How do you write it down in inequality form if it's in between two numbers? It's super easy. Look what you do. Put a 3 on the right, 3 on the left, 11 on the right, x in the center. The arrows always point to the left like that, and there aren't closed circles, so there are no equal signs. and that's your answer. So interval form is this, set notation is this, and if they ask you just inequality, which I've never have them do in the last, 3 or so years, you would just put that green part. Okay, this is inequality. Okay, all right, question C. Step number 1, get it along. Move your 7 over. So the absolute value of 2 minus 3x is greater than or equal to 12 minus 7, which is 5. Step number 2, make it an equal sign. So 2 minus 3x equals 5. Okay, split it into 2. So 2 minus 3x equals 5, or 2 minus 3x equals negative 5. Move your 2 over, it becomes a negative. Negative 3x equals 3. Divide by negative 3, x equals negative 1. Put your ors down. Next one, negative 3x equals, 2 comes over and becomes a negative. Divide, x equals 7 over 3. Okay, go to your number line. The negative 1 is on the left. The 7/3 is on the right. In this inequality, that's the one that I'm looking at. There is an equal sign, so my circles are going to be closed. And it's a greater than, which means far away. So far away from the center is right there. Okay? So in interval form, it's negative infinity to negative 1, union, there should be a bracket on the negative 1, union 7/3 with the bracket to infinity. Okay? In set notation, it's brace x such that x is less than or equal to negative 1. It's to the left of the negative 1, and it has an equal sign. Then do a comma, and then x is to the right, so point your arrow to the right, greater than or equal to 7/3, close your bracket, close your brace, done. Okay? All right, what else do we have? 2 more, then it's pancake time. I'm going to be like a speed cook. Okay, here's question D. Step number 1, get it along. Okay, it is. Step number 2, write the inequality as an equal sign. I know you're going to be tempted to skip this step. Please don't skip it. Looks like that. Now split it. So 4x plus 1 over 2 equals 4, or 4x plus 1 over 2 equals negative 4. Cross multiply. Put a 1 underneath the 4 and cross multiply. 4x plus 1 times 1 is 4x plus 1. 4 times 2 is an 8. I just cross multiplied. I did the other direction first. It doesn't matter. I wanted my x on the left. Move your 1 over. 4x equals 7. Divide by 4. X equals 7/4. Then put an or. Cross multiply this guy. You get 4x plus 1 equals negative 8. The 1 comes over and becomes a negative. 4x equals negative 9. Divide, x equals negative 9 over 4. Go to your number line. The negative 9/4 is on the left. The 7/4 is on the right. To determine if it's like inside, outside, and my circles, I look at that. I look at where it's alone. And I don't have an equal sign, so my circles are going to be opened. And my symbol was a greater than. Greater than means far away, so that is outside. So it looks like that. Okay? Interval notation is negative infinity to negative 9/4 with a parenthesis, union, parenthesis, 1/4 to infinity, like that. Set notation is x such that x is less than a negative 9/4, comma, x is greater than a positive 1/4, close it off and you're done. Okay? Okay, question E. Step 1, get it along. To get rid of the 3 on the bottom, just multiply the right and the left by 3, because then you have a 3 on the left, or 3 on the top and a 3 on the bottom. So then you have the absolute value. You know what? I don't know why I didn't do this on any of these. I want to change E. Yeah, I'm going to change E. Okay, erase what we just did. I want you to put a negative in front of the negative 1/3 and a negative in front of the 4. So I've just changed the problem. That's nothing you would ever have to know to do. Okay, so now I have to get rid of the 3, but I also have to get rid of the negative, right? So I'm going to multiply the right and the left by a negative 3. So then what happens on the left, a negative times a negative is a positive. A 3 on the top and a 3 on the bottom goes away. So everything is gone. So now I have the absolute value of x plus 2. Somebody talk to me about that inequality. You switch it. Why do we switch it, Julian? Because you multiplied by a negative. So now it's a greater than or equal to. And then a negative 4 times a negative 3 is a positive 12. So I just wanted to throw that in where if you multiply, you know, by negative, you have to flip it. Make it an equal sign. Absolute value of x plus 2 equals 12. So now we have x plus 2 equals 12, or x plus 2 equals negative 12. Move your 2 over, x equals 10, or move your 2 over, x equals negative 14. Go to your number line, negative 14 on the left, positive 10 on the right. There is an equal sign, closed, and it's a greater than. Guys, look right here for 2 seconds. If you look here to decide inside, outside, you're going to do inside, and that's wrong. That's why I told you you have to look at when the absolute value is alone. That's a greater than, which means far away, which means outside, like that. Okay? So in interval form, it's negative infinity to negative 14 with a bracket, union 10 with a bracket, to infinity like that. In set notation, it is x such that x is less than or equal to negative 14, comma, x is greater than or equal to 10, close it off, that's it. Okay? Who says I'm good? Raise your hand, give me some feedback. Raise them up if you're good. Okay, I want to talk to you about 1050 for just a second, okay? Who feels afraid to take this class? Raise your hand. You are scared. Be proud to be scared. It's okay to be scared. Okay. Listen. If you talk to one of my 1050 students that just finished and you say, is 1050 easy? Their answer will be no, it's not easy. Okay. So the next, however many months of your life, February, March, April, May, the next 4 months of your life, this class, you're not going to walk away and see it's easy, okay? But if you have the grit, if you care enough, if you're willing to work hard enough, then you're going to pass this class. And for some of you, you're not going to have to take any math in college. 0, depending on what you go into. And I will promise you this. I promise you this. I would bet $100 right now. Pin a $100 bill right there, and then next Christmas you come back and tell me if it's true, and you give me 100 or you take my 100. You're going to go to college, you're going to meet people that are taking 1050, and they're losing their minds. They're crying, they're stressed out, they've got a D, and they've got a test the next day, and they don't understand anything, and they're going to fail it, and they're going to fail the class, and they're freaking out, and it's bad. And you're going to be like, I am so sorry, my friend. What can I do to help you? I kept my workbook from last year. Let me try to help you. That's what you're going to say. But in your mind, you're going to say, I am so glad I did that. I am so glad I'm done. And I did great. And I worked hard. Okay? Here's one more thing I want to say, then I'm going to start cooking. Your homework has to be high quality. Do not do your homework as fast as you can because homework sucks and you want to get it done. Okay? You will not do well. You see how I've written these problems? See how clear this is? That is exactly what I expect your homework to look like. If it's not, you're not going to do well on the test, and I'm not going to give you credit for your homework. Okay? So please have the same level of expertise quality on your homework as you would on a quiz or a test or anything like that. Okay? Questions or comments or anything? Okay, great. So we